Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So excited to be here this morning. I guess it's never easy to start a masterclass on a Saturday morning because I can imagine that people are trying to still wake up, recover from the week, and all of that, even though this is the Eid holiday. Nonetheless, we're here. Um, we're going to get started regardless. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you so much for being part of this event. We're really grateful that you're here. And I'm just going to be introducing and taking the welcome notes this morning. My name is Omozino Eguh. I'm mostly called Oz, that's OZ. And the reason is because it's simpler for me, one, two, because of what it connotes, right? I've been so privileged to be a behavioral scientist for the longest time. And so the implication of that is that I get the opportunity to observe, to understand what drives people to do what they do, what drives people to, and motivates them to behave in the way they behave, right? And how can you optimize that across board. So it's always very exciting and interesting for me to see all the time. And so that's why Oz is my name. So today is the psychology of leading Gen Zs, and I want to welcome everyone once again. I'd like for you to quickly introduce yourself and where you are, joining us from this morning. And so let's just get a sense of where you're at, where you're joining us from this morning, and where you're listening in from. Would appreciate that.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Olubade Rachel, and I'm joining from Ibadan.
Okay, hi Dorothy. Joining from Kaduna. Thank you for joining. Good morning. Good morning. Fantastic. All right, so let's get into it. So I'm just going to be introducing today's conversation, and I really just want to give us a quick background into the fundamental thinking style and behaviors of a Gen Z person, right? What does that mean? What does it look like? Because that's all going to. We're trying to understand these new kids on the workforce block, right? Who they are, how do they think, what drives them, and I'm just going to be laying down some foundational thoughts to this. Welcome to those who are just joining us. Welcome, Osinachi. Welcome, Moses. Um, and I'm just going to be laying some fundamental thoughts into that. So we're really getting into the meat of the matter before we have our beautiful keynote speakers and also panelists do justice as well to this topic. So I'm just going to get into it. So understanding Gen Zs and the fundamental thinking behaviors of and styles and behaviors of Gen Zers. Now, typically, right, I'm a millennial, a lot of us here are millennials, right? A millennial sees the career building process or their career as a means to build something. Okay, I'm building something, I'm advancing towards something, right? I want to make a difference in the world. I want to be stable. I want to um, make impact, right? Millennials are usually thinking about legacy, they're thinking about um, impact, they're thinking about uh, what's the implication of what I'm doing? Will it be relevant in the next 5 years, 10 years, right? So millennials are generally like that. Now, a Gen Z person is, they think about their career development, I think about their career process. As investors, it's not personal, right? They're looking for the best return on time investments. I'm sure you're listening right now, you're like, okay, You're trying to think about match it with some of Gen Z people that you have around you, either in your team or even in your life generally. They're looking at it from that point. They see their career as an investment channel, a means to an end. So they're consistently asking, what is the best return on time investment? If I work in this company at this time, will I get the best return on my time value? Right? If I'm working on this role at this time, will I be able to live my best life? Just to be a lot more, so they're thinking about these things in this way. So they're thinking purely as an investor. I'm about to invest my time in this company on this role at this time. What are my outputs? What are the things I'm going to get out of it within the shortest possible time? Right? And one might think, oh, wow, that's a very shallow way to think. But the reason why they are doing this, and the reason we've seen over time, is that it's because there's fundamental trust issues that Gen Zs have compared to the millennials or the Gen Xers, right? The fundamental trust issues. Now, the average Gen Z has had to see a lot, has had to see life from a very different set of lens, right? Many of them are coming from very interesting family dynamics, and probably they've seen their parents lose their safety nets. They've seen their parents work so hard to retain their safety net. The cost of having that is that their parents didn't have time to spend with them. They had very interesting family dynamics where they had to raise themselves, right? They had to be independent very early. They had to have parents that would ask them, it's not about what you like, it's not about where you're going, it's about what is in it for you. So they have grown up in such an environment that has reinforced consistently these trust issues. And so because they had to be self-reliant earlier than expected, they had to be independent earlier than expected, they would definitely see their career as a means to an end. They would be looking at their career pathways as an investment channel to get the best possible return. Even if they have compassion, they have empathy, they want to make a difference in the world, all of those things are there, but the overarching reason for them is, what's the best return on investment for my time, right? So for Gen Zs, working is more about self-preservation. But Gen Zers, working is more about self-preservation and survival. And so you see the Gen Z's vision, or the Gen Z's, sorry, can you still see my screen? Just to be sure, my screen is still sharing. Okay, so I'm just going to call it up again. Hold on. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um, can is it better now? Can you see me? Can you hear me? I'm so sorry. Let me just share again. Okay. I want to believe it's better. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Soy. Okay, fantastic. So I was saying that I was explaining this loop, right, that Gen Zers are going through and what is and how this is driving how they work. And I said the first thing I established was the fact that Gen Z think about their career as investors, right? They are looking for the best return on time investment per time, right? It's not purely about trying to make the world a better place, or all of that. And the reason why is because they have trust issues. And I explained the family dynamics of that. And so, because of this, right, their vision is how do I make the best return on time investment and how do I preserve myself? So, imagine that a Gen Zer is walking into your work environment, their guard is already up. In fact, by default, they're already expecting the worst experience because they are used to being self-reliant early enough, independent early enough. They are used to having no safety nets, so not experiencing any safety at home or wherever they're coming from. And so they come to your workplace and they are pro myself. I'm just here to do my thing. I'm here to leave when it's time for me to leave. So imagine they come into your team and your care and your environment, your work environment is not even safe in terms of leadership, openness, things that would facilitate productivity. What then happens is that you have just gone on to reinforce that yes, life is very toxic and my guard must be consistently up. And so what that's the implication of that is that by default they have already said in their mind, then I'm not going to ever have to deal with this sort of thing, right? And as you're giving, as the work environment is giving toxicity, they are giving it back, right? You say one, they're giving you 10. Because first, their guards up mentally, they don't feel safe. Mentally, they are constantly on a survival bandwidth, right? They're not here to suffer or be loyal to you. But however, despite all of these very interesting things, Gen Zs at this stage of their life and in their career life cycle, they're still seeking mastery. There are the points in their life and their career where they want to do great, and they want to, but they need mastery, right? So they're not skilled enough to do all the things that they need to do to be fully economically dependent, right? Would they be half baked if it would give them peace of mind? They would. They're not like millennials that would be, oh, I'm building a future, so let me tolerate. No, they won't stay, right? Um, but can they be the most productive people in your workforce, given their age, given where they are in their career life cycle, given all of these things? Yes, they most definitely can be. And so with this mindset, right, if you have a Gen Z person on your team and they meet someone that inspires them, that guides them, that teaches them, that trains them, that offers real and valuable leadership, you would have a Gen Z for the longest time. Would they still behave as character as is known with younger talents? Yes, because they are young. And we've all been young, right? Um, but would they be able to come up and say, "Hey, I've made a mess here. I need your help. Please give me a second chance." They definitely would. So today's sessions, I really just want to employ everybody to just calm down. Let's consider this matter and let's really look at a different side or different argument as regards how to engage this new set of people who have come into our workspaces, right? And this is officially welcome everybody and making the door open for us to have our first keynote speaker today. Um, his name is Innih Ikhide, and he's the head of youth engagement and learning at Jobberman. Innie is an expert in this field, and just imagine youth engagement and learning at Jobberman. He has to always engage with these young people consistently. That's his work. That's his role. That's something he has committed, his career to doing. And he's going to be sharing with us very quickly, having the right mindset about Gen Zs as a leader. And I believe that I've just done a good work to just set the foundation for that. And we're just going to be learning a lot more from Innie. So thank you so much. Welcome once again, everyone. And Innie, you have the floor.
Special greetings to everyone. Delighted to be here this morning. I'm trying to put on my camera. I don't know, maybe I can be permitted to do so.
We can actually hear you. Let's see. Can we make you?
Okay. Just trying to see if I can. The camera is on now.
Yes, your camera is on.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just sending my appreciation to you guys, the organizers of this program, for putting this together. And I'm so happy, I'm delighted to be here this morning to speak on this topic. Because when it comes, just like you said, right, when it comes to engagement, engaging people, especially, not just only engaging youth for the sake of the project, right, but also getting valuable insights, right, understanding how people behave, right, especially recommending organizations and even the society as a whole, how they can properly and effectively manage people. I just want to be sure again everyone can hear me, because I can see Omozino's picture is a bit frozen. I don't know if it's just me or probably.
We're with you. We're with you all the way. We're with you all the way.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thanks. Yeah. So I was just saying that I'm so delighted to be speaking on this very important topic, because honestly, I see employers struggle trying to understand different personality in their workplace. And there's a particular course I like to facilitate, and it's basically on impactful leadership and also understanding personality traits, right? Especially from the behavioral side of it, like we already know, because everyone, like we know, everyone is unique. They have their own unique way of doing things. So even as individuals, we are all unique, right? We have different personality styles. We have different personality traits. We have our own unique way of doing our work. We have our unique way of communicating, right? And also receiving and giving feedback. So it's very important that we all try to learn one or two things from events like this, right? Because this is a topic that is, I would say, very practicable, right? It's something we see in the workplace. Just like Omozino said, she gave a very, very great background and a very good context to how the Gen Zs behave, right? I should mention something about the millennials, that we are this type of people who we see our career as, something that is so important to us, and we tend to take a lot of, I don't want to use that word now. I don't want to use the S word, right? Yeah, so we try to take a lot of nonsense, let me put it that way, and make me remember a lot about my career. Within that period of time she said it, I had to just reflect for like 2 minutes, right? And honestly speaking, when I left my former place to Jobberman, right, and we're talking about my experience in my former place, and I shared with everyone that I worked in my previous organization for 8 years. And some people, beside me were like, for real? What were you doing for 8 years, right? And then I had to just do a sampling by asking them, okay, what's the longest time you can stay in an organization? The highest I got was 2.5 years. And ladies and gentlemen, those people are Gen Zs. They're the Gen Zs we are here to talk about. Yeah, because I mean, it sounded funny to me how somebody would say, I'm only going to be here for 2 years. I'm only going to be here for 1.5 years. And trust me, I mean, it happens that way, right? So I know a very good friend of mine who has worked in about maybe 7 organizations now, right? So why on my CV, I have one organization, 8 years. So this person has 7 organizations, 5 years. I was at the time, I was like, hey, are you sure there's nothing that going on that I'm not aware of? I was almost telling the person, it's like I'll come and consult with you to know how I can just jump, I mean, from one role or the other. But you see, it's about the individual. It's about the way we see our career. Might have that that threshold to really absorb a lot of nonsense, a lot of I mean, you're still optimistic, right? So employers do that a lot. They paint a very beautiful picture of where they're taking the organization to, and they want you to buy into that idea. And some people would say, okay, you know what, we're going to stay here as long as possible until we'll achieve that vision, right? Until these things come to pass. While some people would say, okay, that's fine. Yeah, you want to build a very beautiful mansion, but you know what, we're going to give you guys 6 months to do that. So why somebody is saying, okay, I think in 6 years we can achieve this. Another person is saying, you know what, I'm only going to give you guys 6 months to do that, right? And if that is not accomplished within that period of time, they just move on, right? They move on because like we're already established, right? I mean, it's all about the return for the Gen Zs or the Gen Z. It's all about the return on investments, about, you know, getting the best out of it. They don't have time, like no time. You hear them say no time, no time. So it's either there's an alignment, right? Probably in terms of values, what the organization is offering versus what they are also bringing in. So once they discover that, it's like, I'm giving more than these people are even giving me, right? They don't have that time, they don't have that patience to really take a lot of all this, right? So thank you very much for really putting those information in the right context. Please confirm if you can see my screen. I'm trying to share now.
Yes, sure, we can see it.
Okay, all right, great. So I'm aware I have just limited time. I have a few minutes to do justice on this topic. So for me, I'll be talking more about having the right mindset about Gen Zs and leaders, managers in our various organizations, as we call it. Right? And to me, the reason why I like this topic is mindset. I mean, the keywords there, which to me, I would underline it as the right mindset. Okay? Because like I said, if you do not understand how people behave, you know, how they like to communicate, right? Basically, the bigger picture, how they see the workplace and how they see your organization, right? You then get it twisted, right? You then begin to probably pass the wrong judgment, okay, or you have a biased mindset about the way people work. But trust me, it's not a bad thing that people are unique in their own way. It's not a bad thing that there's a generation who like to do things differently from the previous generations, right? Because basically that is, I mean, dynamics about how the world should be, right? Different generations coming and going. I think there was a research I saw that in the current workplace today, there are about 4 different generations, right? All together in the current workplace, and people bringing in their own uniqueness, individuality into the world of work. Makes it very, very special, right? So I'm just going to speak briefly on 3 major parts as far as this conversation is about. The first is we understanding the characteristics and values of Gen Z and how they differ from other generations in the workplace. We've spoken a lot, quite a lot about that already. And the second would then be about if communicating effectively with and addressing their unique needs and concern. That is very, very important. Yeah, because if you can also underline the keywords in objective number 2, you will see effective communication, you will see uniqueness, right? Addressing their unique needs and concern also. Why objective number 3 would then be how we can develop an inclusive leadership style, taking into account the diversity and individuality of the so, I'm going to try as much as possible to concise, right? And at the same time, give a very robust content. Like I said, I'm also speaking from the experience part of it, even at work, and also as far as my current position in the workplace is out. Okay, yeah. So please feel free to, I think I can, yeah, I believe after the presentation, there'll be time for questions, right? So please feel free to take note of what I will be saying, right? Or what I've started saying. And also please feel free to ask questions at the end of this conversation. Okay, so let's just take a look at the general observations about Gen Zs, their work habits and behaviors. Omozino already spoke extensively, briefly, right, about their unique habits and behavior. Now, yeah, so, but before I say this, I just want to just talk about a book that I read about the mindset, right? And I think everyone here probably might have seen that book, or also an opportunity to also try to do that book. It's a book called The Mindset. The Mindset, written by Caroline Dweck, right? I mean, I love that book so much. It's a book where you really want to read, especially understanding the mindset. So that book itself spoke extensively about the mindset and the fact that mindset is divided into two. There's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. Right? So whenever you hear, or if you have used that characteristics to explain the mindset, right? Fixed mindset and the growth mindset, that actually is coined from the book written by Caroline Dweck. So I want to really encourage everyone to try as much as possible to search for that book and also to read it, because it's really going to do you a lot of good understanding why people get things wrong, basically. I mean, in terms of behavior, in terms of attitude. Discover that it's just about the mindset. And even as a country, Nigeria, so many of the things that we are suffering in our country today is all hinged on the kind of mindset the people have, right? Yeah, so it's also very important. I just wanted to add value to the conversation, make it more. I also want to believe that you've taken time to go through what I have on my screen, so I don't have to spend so much time talking about this. So very, very unique and general observations about Gen Z's work. First is that they are known for their ability to understand and use technology. No doubt about that, isn't it? It's a fact. Because these are guys who grew up with technology evolving, right? And why previous generation saw technology as, I mean, probably they were not, it wasn't even as available as it is now, right? As it is, I mean, the generation of the Gen Zs, understand. And yeah, so that makes it very easy for them to really understand and use technology. Right? They are very comfortable with the use of social apps, and many see this as a disadvantage. But at the same time, we are going to talk about, right? Because this is the mindset. We're talking about the mindset, isn't it? So people who see the fact that Gen Zs are very in the world now comfortable using technology and social apps, see it as a disadvantage, right? Is also speaking to the fact that they have the wrong mindset. Because the question then should be, how can you make technology available for them, right? And how can you also use social apps as a means to make career? Because if you look at people who the digital marketing space, right? Digital marketing space, the social marketing space, the social media space, right? As it is now, you discover that space itself is dominated by the Gen Zs. isn't it? I mean, you see, we're going to talk about more how this actually works well for them. Right? So this is something that it's a general observation about them and should not be seen as a disadvantage. Right? Seeing it as a disadvantage is itself a fixed mindset and it's the wrong mindset. Yeah, I mean, the second point is also very, very important, right? And the fact that we already know that they tend to prioritize flexible work arrangements over traditional office-based job. Now, this is very, very funny, right? And very interesting. The sense that so many HR practitioners, right, or HR professionals still do not understand this as I speak, right? So you invite people to come online for an interview without clearly communicating what the work arrangement will be, right? And then you're founded when people come attend that interview, and one of the questions they ask you is, what is the work arrangement? How flexible is this job, right? And what you tell them is the 9-to-5 arrangement, Monday to Friday, right? And they end up telling you, okay, thank you very much. I can't proceed with this interview anymore. And they log out and they go. And you're like shocked and surprised as to why that is happening. Of course, that is happening because you fail to understand the kind of people you want on the job that you advertise. So this is even post-COVID now. This is not even about COVID and when COVID came, right? Flexible work arrangements had to, it became very popular, but COVID is gone, right? And the question is the lessons learned and how can we transition into the current reality, isn't it? So that part is very, very important. I still found that organizations that still make their work very, very rigid and not flexible, right? I work for an organization where the dress policy is as rigid as anything as working in the 1970s. Let me put it that way. You understand? You have to just show up at work in a particular way. That's it. A particular way, probably one or two options you are given for an entire week. You don't have the opportunity to express yourself the way you want to express yourself, the way you feel, right? And then when I left the organization, I moved to another organization where dressing was as flexible as possible. It became a culture shock for me because I then had to sit down and ask myself that, okay, what exactly does dressing mean as far as working in the workplace is concerned, right? Definitely there are people that should be, you're going for a meeting with a client, for example, you might want to also dress as I look right now, because it's the meeting with a client, it's a business meeting, you want to look all professional. So what about somebody who doesn't have a meeting that day? Why should you expect the person to show up at work the way I'm dressed? And what exactly is wrong if the person show up at work with a jeans and a shirt? You understand what I'm saying? So these are conversations that even HR professionals, even organizations are really struggling to make a shift, right? And then in the new place that I moved to, looking at the way people were encouraged to express themselves the way they dress, both professionally, right, but not definitely with a rigid way. You have to wear tie on a Monday, or you have to wear suit on a Friday. Even if you come to the office on Saturday, you have to also wear suits and imagine under the hot sun and all that, you are sweating and if you're unlucky that day and the rain now fall and rain is then dripping from your clothes like offended somebody, right? And I asked myself, how does that impact on productivity? It does not. How does that impact on the bigger picture, which is results? You understand what I'm saying? So some of all these things to me are just, it's still hinged on the fact that even organizations and employers still use the wrong mindset in setting work standards and arrangements for them. For the Gen Zs, because they understand this fact, right, and they are looking forward to a flexible work arrangement. If they are tired, it's not say they are tired, but when you say they are tired, it means they've been tested it for a very long time, right? To them, in their DNA, the traditional office-based job not cut out, right? And that's the reality of life. That part is very important. The next is around, let me try to see if I can I also manage my time, right? The conversation is very interesting. At the same time, I know there's a time limit. The next is around how they like to be communicated, right? Or how they see communication holistically and their communication style itself. Yeah, it may seem that, I mean, they communicate in a very casual and informal way, right? Than the previous, the previous generation. That's what I That is very, very valid, very, very valid. Because I remember when I started my professional career, I actually saw my boss as a small god, let me put it that way. And there is this kind of this kind of respect actually accorded to him, more like the almighty figure. You understand what I'm saying? And I mean, it's totally different from what it is now, right? So respect is not about you putting fear in your mind. Like you want to talk to your boss and you are afraid, you are scared of him, you have to put your hand behind your back, right? You have to always use the SARS and the yes, yes, as if it's a drama or something, right? It's not the same anymore. Yeah, as far as the point workplace is concerned, right? The main thing is I communicate directly. So in my team, I mean, I'm surrounded by Gen Zs, right? And they tell you, they communicate directly. To them, it's about, do you understand what I'm saying? Not about how I have to carry your bag because you're my boss, or I have to call you sir, or you're a man, and all that. That is basically one thing we should understand. And also the fact that Gen Zs are they're socially conscious and politically engaged. I mean, if you want to talk about the fact that they are very socially conscious and politically engaged, right? And also want to draw a line from even the last general elections in Nigeria, you can see how a lot of people, belong to a particular political group, and how did they pass information, right, across social media, using different social media platforms. And that's why they say that this set of people, you can only find them online, right? So this is basically what it is, and organizations just need to understand that these are the observations and work habits, behaviors of So, I mean, this is something that I like to say, that Gen Zs are, they're a good mind if you know how to manage them properly. Yeah, I'm just going to touch not all, right, but probably one or two of these points. I think the organizers will also find a way to probably circulate this content, right? So you can also have maybe the material to read after today. Yeah, so what are some of the characteristics and values, okay? As far as Gen Zs, what's about the fact that they're ambitious and money conscious? Yeah, you have to basically retrospect and think about what I'm saying again, right? And I think that was also part of what Omozino explained why she was giving the introduction to this discussion, right? Yeah, it's basically not as if everything is about money to them, but like we already established, right? It's about return of investment. Okay, it's about the fact that they're exposed to a lot of opportunities, and they do not want to drag their feet. So it's a question of how can I maximize my time. So you're telling me to do a job from 9 to 5, and you're going to pay me 50K, maybe 70K, and then okay, just working from home and putting out content on social media, and different platforms, right? I can make times 10 of that money. And that's the reason why even in the current workplace, it's difficult to really tie people to a particular job, especially if that job is not attractive, if it does not come with good, the employee value proposition is not strong and all that, because people are exposed to different opportunities. Right? Rather than probably working 9 to 5, somebody can just decide to be mining maybe crypto, like a particular coin, and trust me, right, in 3 months' time, you'll be surprised he has made more money than the person who has gone to work and for the traditional 9 to 5, right? So that's why these kind of conversations really, yes, exactly. So I agree with you, Tomiwa, that, yeah, what was the message? As regards to liberation, I think they are also very conscious of being exploited. So that is also very, very key. We're going to talk about that shortly. I agree with you. But the first is also related to the second, right? Being the fact that they are very entrepreneurial, okay, interested in pursuing their own business plan. It's all about international opportunities. There are a lot of international opportunities out there that you can just do from home. And trust me, like I said, these are people, I mean, the Gen Z generation are very, very comfortable with technology, right? So you have your laptop, you have data, right? Trust me, they can do as much as even beyond your imagination, right? So that part that Gen Zs are very entrepreneurial, very, very valid. And organizations must also understand that. And also it's very important, it's also good to also note that a lot of organizations are also, they already understand this, right? And that's, don't then be surprised when you see a lot of Gen Zs working in a particular organization. For that to happen, it means that there's a proper understanding on how they like to work and how they like to do things, right? And the third is also about setting boundaries. Right? So, one thing that is very, very key to the Gen Z generation is the fact that they are known to value work-life balance, right, and prioritize their mental health. That's not what I'm saying. And it might look like they don't want to do the hard work, right? Why the millennials, you know, it was all about how I have to do everything possible to save my job. Hi, like you see your job like, I don't want to lose it, don't want to lose it, don't want to lose it. You understand? But the Gen Zs are like, come on, soft work, soft life, you know, it's not a do or die affair. And so many things that you now feel they're probably taking for granted, or they are not being, what's the word? No, they're not just being serious about. Okay, I mean, it then look like, what kind of people are these? But trust me, it's still based on the fact that they know when they are about to be exploited, right? They know more or less like saying, like somebody said, it's the Sorosoki generation, right? They speak up and they tell you straight up that, see, it's not, I'm not going to do this, and that's it. Right? They move on to the next. So very important that, like I said once again, that having that flexible, yeah, I mean, having that flexible work arrangement and all that is also very, very important. Yeah. So, still more on these characteristics and values. They use social media in a very unique way. I know I have actually looked for some for a colleague of mine who was not responding to my work. I had to trace that person to TikTok. I said, I know I will find you. I know I will find you there. You understand what I'm saying? And I was like, I've been looking for this person for about 4 hours, 5 hours, right? And I then checked TikTok and discovered that this person just uploaded the content in 45 minutes ago. I was like, wow. Okay. So, but then it's I mean, I didn't have to issue the query and all that. To me, I just felt, okay, no problem. I know where to meet you next time, right? So if I'm looking for you and I can't find you, no problem. I know where to find you. You know, that kind of a thing. And the fact that, how do they use social media in a unique way, right? They use it in a unique way in the sense that probably apps like, social media apps like TikTok, right? You can see them going to probably get more information even than searching on Google. That's very valid, right? I mean, I'm not a fan of, not a TikToker, let me put it that way, but I think I joined about a month or two, and trust me, I was really impressed with the kind of information that I was able to gather, even about my phone, you know, about my work, about this, you know. So you don't then be surprised that people, they rather prefer to go there, right, to get information than just to go on Google, because they see Google as very boring, right? You just have to search Google, what is this, what is that, when they can just go on TikTok and go on LinkedIn, Instagram rather, right? And they get information about what exactly they are looking for. And the fact that they're also avid gamers. So let's take the second part quickly. I mean, strategy for communicating effectively with Gen Zs is the fact that you have to provide development opportunities for them. You also have to offer flexible work arrangements, I've spoken about that, and also use technology, right? This is very key. The current place I work, you don't necessarily have to show up at work because you have a meeting, right? Or because you want to work. what I'm saying. You can use the technology. Organization provide adequate tools that you work. Okay, you can also communicate on different platforms, right? Yeah, but that's also very key that employers and leaders and managers must understand. They're providing regular feedback, right? See, employees value feedback. I want to know how they are doing, right? So providing regular feedback and recognizing their work and recognizing their achievements, telling you it's going to take them many, many steps further. Okay. And then the third is about how can we develop an inclusive leadership style that takes into account the diversity and individuality of Gen Z employees. Yeah. So I'm just going to run through just some few of them. The first is around providing opportunities for growth and development. I already talked about that. Besides this, important that Gen Z value opportunities to learn and grow in their lives. Right? So access to, and that's the reason why, I mean, during my time, when I was interviewed, I never asked about training, mentoring, and professional opportunities. In every interview now, you see this always coming up because they want to know what's your plan for their growth and development. The second is also about clearly defining your values and mission, right? Because they would definitely ask, you know this, right? You've done their background research. They know if you want to take advantage of them or if you want to exploit them. So it's very important that you learn how to communicate your values and mission, because this is one of the things you can actually use to tie them down, right? Even what you're offering them in terms of financial reward and all that, right? It's basically, how can I use my skill, right? How can I grow this organization? What's that a symbiotic relationship between what value I'm giving to the organization and what they're giving back to me. That's very important. I'll be done in a minute. Second is around encouraging collaboration and communication, right? Collaboration. I mean, we already know that they enjoy social connections. There's a need for managers to build that culture that encourages teamwork, right? Also allowing them to take ownership of their work, right? This is very, very key. You understand what I'm saying? They don't like to be, I mean, micromanaging them, you have to define what management is. You have to define what micromanagement is, right? But a culture, an organization where people would be held accountable and responsible for their work, right? Communicate work, the job that should be done for them, right? And give them that time, give them that breathing space, allow them to express themselves, allow them to bring different perspective, right? Different perspective on the work, not making it look like, because I've done this way, you definitely have to also achieve these results the same way, right? It's definitely not going to happen. Also recognizing and value individual contribution, just similar to what I've said, and embracing diversity and inclusivity, right? Very, very important, because we don't want to discriminate as managers, right? As far as we want the workplace to be very dynamic, we must ensure that we are not biased or we do not discriminate. And this is also where a lot of HR professionals get this wrong. And you even hear them coming to you to say, I want to employ certain people for this role, but please don't give us Gen Z. We don't want, we don't want Gen Z. We don't want Gen Z. So that is having a, I mean, exactly, discriminatory, right? And it's also based on the wrong mindset, the fixed mindset. So we must be deliberate and conscious about this, right? In order to eliminate bias and any form of bias. So finally, my questions to everyone on this call, right? You can probably put it on the chat box. What would you stop doing? I mean, based on the conversation, based on what I have said this morning, right? A masterclass presentation, what would you stop doing? What would you continue to do, right? And what will you do? Okay, it's very, very important. Please feel free to drop this account. And on this note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the time, for listening with rapt attention. My name is Innih Ikhide once again, and you can always connect with me on LinkedIn at Innih. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Innie. In fact, if you were speaking, I was just writing down. I was just like, and you said something that's very interesting, right? And I think it's something that we as leaders, or team leads overlook, right? Is our work enabling creativity enough? Your colleague went to TikTok, right? For her or him, that's an expression of creativity, right? So it seems to me, based on what you're saying, that hey, these young chaps are looking for ways to express creativity, but the work environment is not really giving that opportunity for them to be expressive of that creativity. And that's really sad. And because they have to, and it's actually very true. All the Gen Zers I know, in one way or the other, they are content creators. So that means that content creation gives the highest reward or highest fulfillment for creativity that actual work isn't giving. And that's very, 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 I don't know who else felt that or who else noticed that from what Innie was saying. Um, I have a question, and my question is around giving Gen Z employees feedback. As much as they're young, as much as they're concise in telling you this is what I want, this is what I want, they're not really good at receiving feedback or receiving criticism. So how do we, go about this in such a way that hey, we're objective, um, and it doesn't just cause some emotional meltdown that is very unnecessary. Yeah, so please, can you speak to that, please?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Right, so I think it's also how we communicate the feedback, and that really matter a lot. And there's this sandwich method of giving feedback, right? Where, and this was one thing I do a lot, and I also had to evolve into a new way of working, right? Because that's also something as managers you must understand, okay? That your leadership skill should not be static, right? You must always evolve your leadership style. It's not about this is the way you do this. This is what has worked for you so many years, right? And you expect it to work for you if you move to a new environment, right? So you must also be very, very sensitive. One thing I do as much as possible is while giving feedback to first of all appreciate what the individual has done. And that is exactly where people get it twisted, right? So before you even correct the person or try to, of course, you want to be assertive about it, but being assertive does not mean that you have to make the person feel less than themselves. I've seen a particular manager who had problem with his team members because of his inability to pass along information and provide the right feedback. And trust me, in a matter of 1 month, the person lost 3 colleagues, right? They all it was as if it was a planned work. They all resigned and left the same way, right? And then it's about how are you guys doing it and what am I not doing right? So in as much as you want to pass information, please try as much as possible to appreciate what good thing the person has done, no matter how small it is, because that is exactly the starting point, right? You single out what the individual has done well, right? Give enough appreciation and praise for the job, and then you can go ahead and let the person know what he or she has not done. Okay? But if it's all about always scolding, always shouting, always making the person feel less of himself, always making the person feel that you are not good enough, and you think, I mean, that's worked in our generation, trust me, right? Because it was more or less like using reverse psychology to motivate us, right? By making us feel that we've done something very wrong, and so you will not pay your salary. If you don't do it next time, you will not be paid. And then we are like, hey, must pay the salary. Well, it's not the same now. To tell the Gen Z that you will not pay him salary because he has made mistake. Trust me, that salary, that money, you can even count the money I'm giving. I say, sir, take your money and I'm going. Right. So it's very important that yeah.
Oh my goodness. My goodness, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Does anyone in the in the room have a question for Innie? before we close this out. I mean, so Gen Zers are so interesting to me because it's almost like part of me feels like I'm a millennial, but I exhibit Gen Z behavior sometimes. And there's something that is always very interesting that I see a lot of employers do, especially millennial leaders. And because millennials, we are now the leaders, right? We are the one leading the organization, we're the one founding companies, we're the one doing all of these things. And it's like some of the bad behaviors that we learned from our bosses in the name of is my Oga and he's my mentor. We have not dropped it. We haven't dropped it. And there's something that I'm even seeing with modern day organizations that's very worrisome is the fact that you say this is your value and your mission, you convince someone to join you, and then the person comes in and you're not consistent with that. Like it's like what you said and what you're doing, it's a lie. If we're leaders here, we need to align ourselves. It's better to say, you know what, in this company is money we like. Money is our value, and it is better than to say, oh, we value innovation, we value, and then in reality, people can be creative, people can be innovative, people can be expressive. You hammer on how many leads, how many rights. Then it's better you just say, you know what, in this company, what we're looking for is people that can turn 1 naira to 100 naira. Are you that kind of person? And you will attract your kind. Because I think at the end of the day, when it comes to it, the Gen Z that work with you, that will work for you and it will make sense, is the Gen Z that you had a clear communication. This is who we are, this is what we represent. I mean, I have someone's hands raised. Someone, please, you can unmute your mic and ask your question or make your contribution to the conversation.
Hello everyone. Hello Innih. Thank you for that presentation. I don't know if this is being recorded, but I think it's something I always have to kind of go through again and just remind myself of some of the things that you said, like from your So I think in relation to what you were saying, about leaders being sticking to like their mission or something, like the values that they proclaim. I think it's also one of those things that millennials got from their other bosses, like their older bosses. So it's not really about like the value or the mission for them. It's just anything that makes them look good, So as long as it makes them look good, they don't really care about the substance behind it. But what I see with Gen Zs is that we, as Innie said, we need to be dynamic leaders. I think that's like the real key to managing Gen Zs, because you cannot just be doing things on a surface level anymore. You need to understand very deeply what motivates people. You need to understand very deeply what the kind of things that that distracts people from doing their work, the kind of environment that helps them to be productive, for you to actually be able to manage these guys, because they are not guys that you will tell sit down and they will just sit down there. They want to understand, why are you telling me sit down? And if you don't even tell it to them very well, so they will say, do you think I'm a child or something like that? Because that's something I hear a lot from Gen Zs. They're always very cross at their parents. So, they always feel like, oh, their parents do not listen to them when they are saying something. They always feel like, oh, maybe because they are older, they are the ones that are always right. So they come at it with that mindset. And if you come and tell them, or you are insisting something, or you are insisting on something, they will let you know that, Oga, because you are older does not mean that you are right. This thing is wrong, And if you don't handle it very well, you will take it as being rude and all of that. So as Innie said, I think what struck me the most is that we need to be a lot more intentional leaders. We need to have broader understanding about how to manage people. That era of I'm your boss, so anything I say goes. That era is gone. You can, I think Innie recommended a book right now, reading about mindsets and about all of those things. So we need to start broadening ourselves so that we can actually manage these guys very well. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Amwa. That was such a good feedback to give. I've also dropped a link in the comments as well. So if you want to give any feedback, you can just drop it in the link. We'll be looking at it live and also share at the end of the session what we felt about this session. Thank you so much, Innie. This was such a good session. I had fun. I picked actual things from it, and I believe that other people did same as well. So very shortly, we'll be going into the next session, and I'm just very excited to share as well, because this session takes the conversation, deeper and wider, on this conversation that we started today. And we're going to be looking at fostering better collaboration across generations. Now, we've looked at, hey, the mindset that we need to have as Gen Z leaders. We've looked at it and we're saying, hey, we have to be dynamic as leaders. We have to be intentional as leaders. We have to understand the context and the behaviors of these people that are in our care. The next speaker I'm going to be bringing up is Toyin Lasaki. She's a seasoned HR professional with over 15 years rich experience in consulting, real estate, construction, marketing, communications, and she holds a degree from the University of Ibadan, also an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, and holds a professional diploma in human resources from CIPM. She's also a globally recognized HR professional, and she's going to be sharing her experience and also her professional opinion on fostering better collaboration across generations. I'm so excited to have her here today. Thank you so much, Toyin, for accepting our invite. You have the floor to share with us today, and we're super excited to have you.
Thank you very much, Omozino. Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate the invitation, and I've learned so far. Innie, thank you for setting the foundation for this session. I really enjoyed your session. I listened in attentively, and I took some notes, to go and apply in my workplace too. So, thank you for your contribution. Thank you for bringing the humor part to this session. So I'm going to share my screen. And then good morning. We're still in the morning to every other member of the community that are online. Okay, I hope we can all hear me clearly and also see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yes,
okay,
we can.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Omozino. So the assignment Omozino has given me this morning is to, educate us on strategies on how to foster better collaborations across the generations in the workplace. Funny enough, we have currently in the workplace, we have about 4 to 5 generations in the workplace. And this masterclass is really a very good one, a very in the workplace. And I think this is like the first time that we are having several generations in the workplace. And also the fact that there's a lot of information available out there for us now. So we leaders, we don't have an excuse of not being able to manage the generations that we currently have in the workplace. So what we are going to be looking at today, I'm going to be diving into the various generations in the workplace. I'm going to be setting the pace by, highlighting the various generations that we have in the workplace at the moment, the characteristics of the different generations, and how we can ensure that we better collaborate. Okay. As at 2022, which is last year, the generations that we have in the workplace are the traditionalists, the baby boomers, the Generation X, the millennials, the Generation Z. Currently, we have some organizations who still have this 5 generations in the workplace. And then we have some that have just 4 generations in the workplace. We have some with 3 generations in the workplace, but I've decided to take it as the 5 generations. Because if we look at the organizations that are very old, especially the very old multinationals, some of them still have the traditionalists and the baby boomers on their board. And once in a while would also have cause to deal with them, because even now we have some generation X, and we even have millennials on the board of organization. So you have stages in your career. So who are the different generations? We have the traditionalists. They're also known as the silent generation. We know the Gen Zs are the Sorosuke generation, but the traditionalists are the silent generations. They are the oldest generation in the workforce today. That's even if you still have them around. But like I said, very few old generation companies, old multinationals still have them as members of the board. So these are people that were raised in the World War II, and they are the long, loyal, long tenured, workers. They've been in, they are characterized by being loyal to their employers, and then that's how they gauge loyalty is for you to have stayed long in the business, whether you are performing well or not. They are the ones that reward longevity, not performance. They value monetary rewards a lot. They are the ones that invest in shares and all that. They value dividends. They want to share dividends. So what motivates them is, the prospect of rising through the ranks in their organization. Well, they are very particular about promotion, unlike the Gen Zers now. They don't care. They don't send promotion, as they have their money at hand. Then we have the baby boomers. The baby boomers are still, in the workforce. Some organizations still date. They are named for the birth rate explosion post-World War II. There was, a boom in, giving birth and all that. There was a boom in birth rates. These are generations that, they came about immediately after World War II. They are very confident. Baby boomers are very independent, and then they have the willingness to assert authority. Most of them are, still in old generation companies nowadays, and they are the ones that they're always like, this is how we have been doing it, and this is how we'll continue to do it. I'm sure some of us would have encountered them, in our career. They are the ones that insist on the traditional way of doing it, and then they don't value change at all. This is the way our predecessors did it. This is the way we've been doing it, and it's working for us, and you two must align. That's the way they operate. They value their work-life balance. I guess it's because, they believe in family, the family kind of system and all that. So they believe in work-life balance. They are the ones in the organization, they'll be asking you, what this HMO that you've given us, what's the content? Does it cover my wife? Does it cover my kids? Does it cover this? Does it cover this particular test? Does it cover this? They are the ones that ask all those kind of questions. So they really value work-life balance. Then going on to Generation X, they are the first generation to be raised with two working parents. In the olden days, women don't really work, but Generation X came to being when it was really the trend for the father and mother to be in an organization, working in an organization. So that made them to be kind of self-reliant, and then they have strong work ethic. So because both parents are working, they are this unconsciously has made them to be, rely on themselves, be independent, and then because of, they also have strong work ethics. They value face-to-face communication a lot. If they need to speak to you, it has to be face-to-face. So they are the ones that in the organization that will be kicking against them work from home or flexi work kind of style. Despite their excellent face-to-face communication skills, I said Generation X prefers full-time remote work. Yes, that's because part of them are kind of borderline millennials. So they also value remote work. It's the baby boomers that will stand against remote work or flexi kind of work. They also benefit from workplace well-being initiative more than any generation in the workplace. They're also particular about what's the well-being welfare system in the organizations. They are the ones that when they go for interview, they ask you the question, well, what benefits do you have for me if I come to work in your organization? or what do you have planned for my family? Is this organization a family based organization? They ask that kind of questions. They don't see themselves as, you know, okay, I'm working for you as a single person. They see themselves as, if I'm working for your organization, I'm working, it means my whole family kind of, in quotes, is working for the organization. So any benefits you're giving me, anything you're doing has to suit my organization. They are the kind of people that when you tell them, oh, we want to transfer you to Ibadan, or want to transfer you to Jos, they can tell you, oh, let me speak to my wife first, and then I will get back to you. They can be that, you know, expressive, that they would always want to carry their family along in decision-making that has to do with their job. Now, let's go to us millennials. I'm a millennial too, like Innie and Oz. So millennials, we grew up alongside emerging technology. We are the first to experience the digital generation. So when we were born, computers were not really the in thing, but you know, we grew up into that technology when technology was gradually emerging. I always tell my children, when I tell my children, when my children, they're all about, I need to check it on the internet. I need to check it on the internet. I tell them that when I'm doing a project, when I was doing a project, my first degree project, I had to go to the library to go and research. I didn't go to any internet. It was even rare. It's only even in the business centers that you have to pay to buy time. And, you know, then as a student, we didn't really have money. So we grew up in a time when technology was just emerging. It was not the thing. We had to use the libraries to go and search for old books to research and all that. So Gen X value career advancement, but we millennials, we prefer flexibility and autonomy. Yes, we value career advancement too, but you know, there's a way we want to combine it with our work too. For example, a Gen X can say, I want to resign from my job because I want to go study for 2 years. I want to go and do a master's degree in the US for 2 years. And then after then, I'll decide if I want to work or not. But you will hardly find millennials who will do that. Millennials will look for professional certifications that they can combine with their work. They will look for a master's degree or MBA that the cognition, we love validation, we love reassurance. Gen Zs don't bother. I hope we can still hear me. Omozino, I hope I'm still audible.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, you are.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. So, like Innie said, we are very hardworking. We can take any nonsense. We are very hardworking. You know, when they say, oh, this deadline needs to be met, you see us rushing to meet that deadline. We abandon everything, and you know, you just want to. Do I use the word we are people pleasers? I don't want to say we are people pleasers, but you know, we like to get the job done no matter what. We look for a sense of, sense of achievement to perform our best. We are all about collaboration. We don't mind, you know, we love working in teams, working with people. That's why when the millennials came on board, you see the office spaces, the open office space style, you know, it was really more pronounced. I don't think Gen X guys like that now. Okay, moving forward to Gen Zs. Gen Zs, Gen Zs, they are the digital natives. They've never known a world without internet. I want to say they are very lucky because they have a lot of information available for them. Things are kind of easy in quotes for them because anything that's, you know, before you know anything, a Gen Z in your organization already knows. They are always 10 steps ahead of every other generation. They want to use their career to drive world change. That's what they like. So oftentimes when they're looking for a new job opportunity, they want to look at an employer that's, you know, that has similar values as them, an employer that, that gives them the opportunity to drive world change. So they look for employers that have ESG initiatives, CSR initiatives, and all that. That's what they look out for. They understand that there's their money to be made from good ideas. So, for example, for them, their intellect, their knowledge, fresh ideas is not free. So any fresh idea that comes to them, extra mile, and take risk of converting it into money. So they have an entrepreneurial mindset. They are the ones that leave universities and then they have their own startup on their own, you know. But for millennials, we are the kind of people that, oh, we want to work for 2 years, combine it with our side also, and then move on. But they are not scared of taking the risk of moving. Even while they're in uni, they're already building a app or something that they can sell. They've already sold apps, you know. They're very competitive. Competition drives them. They are competitive, you know, even to themselves. That's why you see a lot of they have more numbers of them with mental issues, because they are, you know, on a regular basis, on a daily basis, they are thinking, okay, what am I doing now? Time is going. Am I making money? Am I adding value to my world? So they compete against time, compete against other people. They even compete against themselves. So they are not happy when everything is just dry. They are not doing anything. They are not adding value. And that value they are adding is not converting to, you know, to cash. They are not happy. So they tend to act quickly. Because another thing they're afraid of is, I don't want my counterparts to implement this idea before I do. So they are always thinking on their feet. And of course, they prefer flexible work arrangements. So that's all about them. It's not an exhaustive characteristics of Gen Z. Innih has taken us through some other characteristics. The bad news for us is that it's very challenging managing a multi-generational workforce. It is very, very challenging. But the good news is that if we manage them well, you know, even the teams themselves, they can see more benefits from the broad range of skills and experiences, you know, because they have diverse nature, diverse work styles, diverse characteristics. If all these things are well harnessed, there is a lot of, gains for the organizations. More good news. The professionals in each age demographic have their own work styles. I said that before. They have their own work styles. They have their own approaches. They have their own experience, communication skills, adaptability, technical skills, cross-departmental collaboration. There are a few of the areas in which we leaders can recognize differences amongst employees of different generations. So a recent study showed that at their core, the generational differences could be beneficial to the organization and the team. So we as leaders, there are ways that this, generational differences, if we harness them very well, it can be, very beneficial to the growth of the team and the growth of the organization. So I'm going to delve into how we foster better collaborations across the generations. So this slide is very verbose because, of course, I'll be sharing it with Omozino, and Omozino would, I believe, will be be able to read them properly and understand how to manage the different generations in the workforce. First and foremost, as leaders, we need to educate our team. I mean, a team, if you have a team or in an organization where you have the different generations working there or working in your team, you need to educate them. Let them understand the positive effects of the multi-generation workforce that they are in. Let them know that you're aware of the challenges that can come up, the challenges of the different generation, and but you're looking to develop better ways of working together. So it's being vulnerable to them that, yes, I understand that we in this team we're of different generations and there could be challenges. But as well as there could be challenges, there are ways that we can work together, to achieve the objectives of the team. Then establish respect. There has to be respect. So doesn't mean age of, respect as in age. There are ways a millennial can respect a Gen Z. There are ways a baby boomer or a Gen X can respect, a millennial. I said here that the key to respecting and collaborating with other generations is to understand that they are different. You need to first understand that and this is, diversity and inclusion comes into place. That's why a lot of organizations have that policy in their, in their organizations now, because it is very key. And then because we are in the age of multi-generational workforce. So a millennial needs a different thing from a manager. A Gen Z needs expect something different from a manager. So it's expected that as leaders, as managers, we need to work with these different generations based on their, work styles. We need to come down to their level. I remember that I have a Gen Z working with me, and when she comes to my office, when I hired her newly, when she comes to my office, she just sits down. She doesn't wait for me to say, okay, you can have your seat. She just comes in confidently and sits down. If I don't understand that, okay, that's the way that generation is wired, I might pick an offense. Imagine if I'm maybe a Gen X or a baby boomer, I might pick an offense and say, why are you sitting? Did I ask you to sit? Or did I ask you to come in? So it takes you understanding that, oh, this is how these people are wired. Then you can now be able, so it means if you're understanding that they are wired this way, it means you're establishing respect. You respect, that that's how they are wired. We encourage that you have conversations with, with your direct reports often, so that you understand them better. What motivates them? What work styles, do they have? What kind of work style do they prefer? Going further, we should ensure that we focus on the big picture. Ensure we focus on what's the objective of this team, what's our vision, what are our values. Let's channel our team members to focus on this big picture, as against focusing on, oh, this person spoke to me this way, this person didn't do his assignment very well. Let's, channel their focus to the big picture. What's the vision of the business? What's the mission? What are our values? So let's continuously remind ourselves that everyone is working towards the same goal. And as such, our focus should be on that goal, not on, how am I reacting to this person? How is this person coming into my office? This person speaks rudely and all that. Let's ensure that we focus on the picture, so that we are able to work together as a team. Going further, we are advised to learn from one another. Trust me, there are a lot of things we can learn from different generations. And this is where we have initiatives such as reverse mentoring. Sometimes you allow a Gen Z to lead a project, so that even the millennials, even the baby boomer, can learn from them. That's what we call reverse mentoring. So when we're managing our team, we need to be humble. We need to ask questions. There are some things that I don't know. I have a younger millennial working with me, and is very, very creative, thinks on his feet, but implementing is an issue for him. It can bring, I can say, oh, we have this issue, and how do we resolve it? And then he can quickly say, oh, Toyin, let's do this, do that. If we can do this will be the result. But if you ask him to go and implement it, he won't be able to implement it. But because I've understood that that's the way he's wired, then within my team, I've looked for implementers. I'm also an implementer. And then I've put him in charge of bringing on board creative ideas. And then we that we are implementers, we are responsible for implementing those ideas. So there is no knowledge lost amongst the different generations. We can always work together peacefully and learn from one another. Going on, as much as possible, we need to fight age bias and stereotypes. So there's always this belief that millennials and Gen Zs are rude. I worked in an organization in the past, and the leadership of that organization, that's what they say all the time. they say, HR, your millennials and your Gen Zs, they're very rude, they are uncultured, they just speak anyhow. We need to drop those bias, you know, before you can work with anybody. If you already have a mindset about that person, it will be difficult to penetrate. So let's encourage our team members, let's encourage our, you know, members of our organization to drop that bias first. Instead, you know, invest in learning about the person's personality type, the generation work style, so that you are able to, you know, work better with that person. You are in a position whereby you understand how that person works, how you can get the best out of that person, and then you can then work peacefully with that person. Then as leaders, we can't be rigid. We need to offer, you know, flexible solutions. My time is going, but I'm rounding up gradually. We need to offer flexible solutions to diverse needs. This is where a lot of, you know, what's it called, different work arrangements come in. We can decide that, okay, for the millennials or for the Gen Zs, you want to have them work from home, maybe fully or maybe 3 times in a week and all that. You can categorize, like what we did in my organization is we identify these people that, okay, that's the way they are wired. And then we allow them to work from home, you know, some days of the week. But others that we even offered that said, no, they rather come to the office to work. So we didn't make it very, very rigid. We have, you know, balanced it out. Okay, you're working in a way, we like it or not, you know, there are similarities amongst the different generations. All of us, what we're looking at is, okay, we want to feel engaged at work. This is common to every generation. We want to receive a fair pay. We want to achieve, we want to build a better quality of life. We want to, you know, be happy. Despite our age, we want to be respected. So let's not overlook the similarities. There are ways that, you know, we have common ground. And, you know, if we work from this point of, okay, yes, we have commonalities in this area, it will help us, you know, form like a team and then be able to understand, okay, apart from these commonalities that we have, there are areas where we differ, and then respect the areas where each person, each generation differs to, you know, foster a better working relationship. Like I said before, we can learn from one another. I think this is a repeated comment. We can learn from one another. Then finally, it is very key to listen. Listening is very key. No matter what generation we belong to, no matter what generation we're leading, we need to listen. Everyone loves to be heard. Everyone loves to be listened to. We need to listen to understand what that person is saying, what the generation is saying, what our team is saying, not listening to respond. So it's very key. Yes, we've spoken about the different strategies that we can collaborate, but it's very critical that we listen. A lot of people just want to be heard. They just want you to understand them. The more you understand them, the better we can offer what they need to perform at their best. But if we don't listen to them, there's no way we can understand them. So if you listen more, understand where they are coming from, then you are able to offer, you know, solutions or offer ideas that will make them perform at their best. Let's be open to asking them questions. Let's be open to receiving feedbacks from them. You can have a session with your team and ask them for feedback. How am I doing? What do you think about this project we just completed? Where are the gaps? How can we improve? I had a session with one of a Gen Z that interned with us, that finished interning with us last week, Thursday. And I asked her for feedback, and she gave me very good feedback that I'm going to use, I'm going to apply within the organization, so that when we have, you know, more interns in the next year, then, you know, I'm confident that that gap will have been closed by then. So listening is a very, very key skill of a leader managing multi-generational workforce. Thank you everyone for your time. I'll take questions now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having me here.
Hello, Toyin. Wonderful and very insightful presentation. Thoroughly grateful for that. I'm sure there are a lot of things I'm going to infuse in our practices moving forward. but I have a pressing issue, right? What if you find yourself in a situation where, because we're a young company, a digital solutions company, and we have a lot of Gen Zs. A lot of them, we've been able to work with them, collaborate with them, listen to them, like you said, create a safe space for them to explore. But at the same time, what if you find yourself with a particular staff that it's like you've tried everything possible, right? It now seems as if maybe you are being biased towards the person. I've had issues with the person's line manager because they think I overindulge them, right? When would you say is the right time to probably just maybe part ways with that staff? Because it can turn into being a problem in the organization. Now, I've gone as far as visiting this person at home and speaking to the parents. So I've even gone outside of my job description, right? To speak with the parents. I'm in constant touch with the mother. Sometimes you can just get a nasty message from this person that I don't want to come to work. I don't feel like, just some really odd messages, right? You've made so much concession. So when is the right time to maybe just, part ways?
Okay, thank you, Moses, for that question. Like I said in my presentation, that they are very prone to mental issues, Gen Zs. Have you had a one-on-one conversation whereby you ask questions like, do you really still want to continue working with the organization? You may have to be upfront, and ask that question, because the person might truly does not want to work with the organization again. And if you still really want to help, since you've even gotten the family involved with the current situation, I think you may have to consult a specialist to handle the person in this situation. Bring on board, but with the consent of the staff. Yes, I understand that every other member of staff can, and what's it called, the line manager can see that you are overindulging the staff, but really, the way you manage Gen Z, it may come across that you are overindulging them, but that's just the way. If you don't, you have to manage that situation one-on-one. Just like Sterling Bank, we say they are a one customer bank. That's the way Gen Z are, one-on-one. Each person has different situation they are dealing with, or different, even amongst the Gen Z, there are common, areas amongst them, but there are unique kind of issues that they might have. There are different triggers that they might have. So you may need to ask that person, do you really want to continue working with me? If the answer is no, then it may be the right time to let the person go. If the answer is yes, then ask the person if the person doesn't mind you bringing an expert, a mental expert into the discussion, so that the person asks, relevant questions and see how, they can come in and help the Gen Z. Because truth be told, they are very, very, it might feel, oh, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, or be comparing himself with his colleagues, that this person has been able to achieve this feat, I've not done this. That's just the way they are hired, and it easily leads to mental breakdown. It might be having a mental breakdown. It might be that you need to give him some time off, maybe like 1 month off the job, and then after 1 month, then when he's refreshed and all that, it can now come back. Also, the line manager also needs to be educated on how to manage Gen Z. We're not sure if he's even the one that is the cause of the mental breakdown, if he's not patient enough to manage Gen Zs and all that. So you may also have to, have a conversation with the line manager to understand better the situation of things, so that you're able to address it properly. Issue. I hope I've been able to respond well to an extent, Moses.
Profound. I'll take some of your feedback. Maybe I'll connect with OZ and give my feedback as well. So I'll do that. Thank you very much, Toyin. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. This is beautiful. I mean, my internet froze for a bit because like all this Rema cannot just be hanging, you know. So thank you so much. This has been so phenomenal. Thank you, Moses, for that question. I'm so happy that you're able to get clarity. Okay, Tomiwa, your hands are up. You have the floor. You can quickly ask your question or share your comments.
Thank you, Toyin, for that presentation. You mentioned during your presentation that you hired an intern that just finished, and then she gave you some feedback that you thought were very insightful and you would implement. Are you at liberty to share some of the things she noted? Maybe there are some things that we could learn from.
Okay, so not a problem, Tomiwa. Thank you. So what she mentioned that was that stood out for me was the fact that the team where she worked, she noticed that there's no teamwork there because it's a team whereby they have financial targets. So it's difficult for them to work as a team. They don't collaborate. It's like a culture of every man for himself in that team. I'm just chasing my target. I just want to meet my targets. I'm not bothered about anybody as long as I can meet my target. That was the feedback that she gave. And she's quite right because I've observed that faintly in that team. And now that she has brought it to bear, it's not only me that have been observing it, it made me think back that there should be, maybe we need to restructure the targets in the team. Instead of individual target, we make it a team target and all that. So that was the feedback that she gave, which I'm really going to work on.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome everyone who is just joining. In fact, if you are just joining, don't worry. You get the recording. This has been so robust. Thank you so much, Toyin. I mean, I've personally been writing, and it just enunciates quite a number of things that are so critical for this new generation in the workplace. And there's something you mentioned about reverse mentoring that I think it seems so. You mentioned it so casually, but it's so important, right? The fact that we must even humble ourselves to be able to learn as much as we're in the position to provide guidance, but even being humble enough to learn from these people is also very, very key and also very critical. And, you mentioning and enunciating the fact that, hey, understanding each other, which is what Udemy as a name means, right? It means you discover me, right? And one of the things that we hope to be able to do is to create tools that enable teams foster better collaboration by understanding, okay, this is your work style, this is my personality. How can we merge forces to make it to make work productive and enjoyable and fun and a lot more reduce conflict also in the workplace? So you have brought a very rich angle to this conversation this morning, and we are so grateful to have had you on board. Thank you so much, Toyin. Let's celebrate Toyin, in the chat. Let's share our thanks to her. While I then mention the next session, we're going to be going into the next session, and the next session is so interesting because this time around we're getting into a panel session, and in this panel session we're going to be learning and hearing from Gen Zers themselves. Some Gen Zers themselves, right? We're going to be taking this panel session, asking some questions. So if you also have questions that are on your heart, while I also steady conversation, you can also drop them in the chat. First person we're having is Osinachi. Osinachi is a career coach and workplace influencer. I mean, if you follow Osinachi on LinkedIn, she does an event that happens every Monday called Pro Cycle, and then you see a lot of Gen Zers come together, and they're just learning together how to advance their career and make better choices. And it's called the Pro Cycle. Very phenomenal work that she's doing over there. So Osinachi, we're so happy to have you on the call today. We also have Divine Egbuna. Divine is someone I've known for a while. I mean, such a phenomenal person. He calls himself a bank of solutions. And literally, it's not a joke, like it's literally what it is. the bank of solutions, right? He's very innovative, and he deploys a creative approach towards developing solutions through products and for businesses. He's currently a product manager at Traction App, a fintech, and we're so excited to have him here on the call as well. And we also lastly have on this panel session Andrew. Andrew is someone that is very phenomenal. I mean, reading his profile, just like, wow, at 16 years, he has been able to do work with the UN. He's been able to do work with Equip Africa Initiative. He's also a law student presently. And whilst, you know, studying law, he already has his design agency, and he's the lead of Semasa Design, and is also on the call with us this morning. And they're just going to be having a very sweet conversation around defining a work environment where Gen Zers can excel. You know, what does that look like? What does that feel like, entail? And that's what we're going to be having quickly this morning. So I want to indulge our panelists kindly, you know, or mute, share your video, and let's have the conversation.
That's fine. Hi, Rachel. Hi, everyone. Hi, Osinachi. You're looking radiant, by the way.
Oh, I'm so
Good
sorry.
morning.
It's not really for this most of this section actually. It was for something else again. So just ignore the whole outfit and everything. It was not for the purpose of this section. Thank you very much. Okay,
I think that works. So we'll just drive the conversation around Gen Z, and I think I would first pick it up from where Toyin left. I think Toyin said something very profound about reverse mentorship in the workplace, and I find that very profound, as we often see and meet people where all Gen Zs get to interact with line managers who don't exactly embrace the idea of reverse mentorship, because they feel that because they are line managers, or they are, you know, especially in the Nigerian jobs or employability sector, where we have people take the whole age and respecting very serious, and a feedback from someone that is a young person, or a feedback from someone that is actively thriving and understand what they're doing, is almost seen as disrespect. Right.
Yes.
So I want to know what's your view on that? How do you accept, or how do you think about it, if I may ask?
Okay, when Toyin said that, so as if she literally lit a light bulb in my head. I went like, wow, that concept is I've been struggling to put a name to that concept, right? Considering the fact that even as at last day, I had made a post on my LinkedIn that this end of the year annual review, where managers give their people working under them, they give them reviews on how their performance has been, right? So I did make a post saying that even the employees should be able to give their managers reviews.
Yeah.
Because the annual review is more of a one-sided thing.
Osinachi, I think you're on mute now. Hi, Oz, welcome back. So we were just trying to kick it off from Toyin's conversation about reverse mentorship.
Okay.
Yes, Osinachi, welcome back.
Can I go ahead, please?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you so much, Divine. Welcome.
Thank you. So the issue basically of respect is something that is very, very, very crucial in the workplace. And when she said that respect basically is not really a one-sided thing, that managers, employees simply respecting their managers, the managers themselves should equally respect their employees. And this type of respect often comes subtly, right? Sometimes it could be that you don't call your employees outside working hours. Some people don't like that, like literally. Call me only during working hours, text me only during working hours, anything out of working hours, don't message me. It could equally be giving them the privacy, or not really privacy per se, but giving them the flexibility to work at their own choice. or their choice destination. So it could be that, okay, are you fine with working from home, or you really want to come into the office to work? And I think the major issue many Gen Zs have this period is the option of flexibility. So Gen Zs really want their. I'm coming as a Gen Z. So I guess I should really share with you of my experiences, right? Yes, I'm 21 years old. Yeah, I know I don't look 21. I'm 21 years old, and I can literally tell you how they treat Gen Z. So I was working in a work environment, right? And when I bring up ideas, they go like, "What do you know? You're too young." Like a literal red flag, right? And I'm being paid to bring up ideas, but I'm still being criticized for not even knowing, like for not like fitting in, right? And when I go like that, it just goes like, okay, I just like have to calm down and I have to understand the work environment, because someone like me, I've really worked with a lot of millennials, a work of boomers basically. Right. So to an extent, I have come to like understand them. Yes. Even from my background of being from like even from my generation and everything, and our whole craziness and workiness. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
sure.
Okay, thank you very much. So
yeah, sure.
And if the same understanding can be passed down to Gen Zs, because Gen Zs also have to fit in. It seems like they are being forced to fit in without them trying to like accommodate us, right? So you hear so many rhetorics of how Gen Zs are like so stubborn, they are so troublesome. They want like, okay, this because we agree. Okay, now I'm just going to debate a little bit, right? I'm so sorry for taking up so much time, but I'm just going to debate a little bit. Now take for example, Gen Zs. We grew up with the whole we had this background, right, where everything is meant to be how it is. You're going to understand because we grew up being given so many opportunities. We grew up knowing that we have to be reliant on ourselves. We grew up knowing that. Sorry, please. We grew up knowing that we have to like fend for ourselves, right? And we carry this trait into the workplace. We carry this trait into the workplace because we go like, we know that we have to like fight for ideas to be picking. We know it's not just enough for you to propose an idea. We know you have to equally fight that. Not really fight per se, but we know we have to like at least do some certain things for you to be picked. We know that promotion don't come to us in a platter of gold. We really have to work for it. And while we are like giving our best shots, we don't want
Interesting. I think we lost Osinachi for 1 second.
that mind. We don't want to be cheated, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can hear you now, Osinachi.
Okay, Osinachi, you can just land that thought so that, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think your network is network has
like it's literally my network. MTN hates me because you can't even tell me anything else again right now.
That's a Gen Z thing to say, Osinachi. That's a very Gen Z thing to say.
Hates me. You can't even tell me anything right now. So we are like giving our best, right? And we don't want to be cheated out. We want it to like I guess it should be like this. We want it to be a fair play.
Okay.
I give you what is yours, and you give me what is mine. I give you your perfect work. I give you your excellent work, and you give me my own space to do what I need to do. You don't micromanage me. I do the work I'm paid to do, right? And I'm not asked to do anything out of my working hours, which is not like this is beyond my pay. Now, this to an extent now might sound very controversial, but like I told you, I've come to understand the whole millennial, the baby boomers, and the Gen X, and I've understood that we need to tune it down, and that is where the Gen Zs need to do the work. So it's not just the whole concept of being a Gen Z and everything, right? you equally have to learn how to fit into the environment. Take for example, when Miss Toyin mentioned that her Gen Z just come into her office and sit down without asking for permission to sit down. That is so common to me. Like, you see, I want to talk to you. I can just sit down, right? But I learned from experience. I won't even lie to you. I learned from experience. I learned that when you go to an office or you want to talk to someone, the first thing you do is ask question. Okay, is it okay for me to sit down? Trust me, it's came with a whole lot of experience. Because the first thing any Gen Z or any reasonable person will like is a sit, right? You want to talk to someone. Are you not supposed to sit down to talk to the person without even asking permission? But then I guess that's where the whole difference is really, really come across. And we must really learn to tone it down. We need to learn how to tone it down. The way they do things basically is different from the way we generally do things. And
Interesting.
why you are like so second generation? I'm so sorry. I'm so end up. Not like so second generation. We need to like
tone it down a little.
Fit
Yeah.
into the workplace.
Interesting.
Thank you very much.
Interesting. I agree with you, Osinachi, for that thought. And I would be on a scale I would be on the middle part of the scale between the the Gen Zs and other generations outside the Gen Zs for this conversation, so as to give it a balance and to give it that freedom of expression. So personally, I'm of the opinion that Gen Zs need enabling environment to thrive. And by enabling environment, I mean we need to create an environment for Gen Zs, basically. And Andrew, can you confirm you can hear me, please? Yes, Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm
okay,
so
all right.
Sorry. MTN is after my life right now, and
you all are really talking like Gen Zs on this
like
call. I think I'm the one that has an old soul here. But just kidding. All right. So I strongly believe that we need an enabling environment for Gen Zs to grow and thrive. So Andrew, I want to ask, what do you think foster that enabling environment, or what are the elements that you can consider that should be in place for us to be able to craft that enabling environment for Gen Zs, basically?
Okay, thank you so much. I think the speakers just is like a lot of those questions, right? But I'm going to answer this from my experience, right? Then not so different from what you see there. So yeah. So the truth is that the basics, right? Work is not different in any generation. If you are going to really excel at whatever you're doing, there's a need for a lot of commitment and diligence in whatever it is you do, right? So those standards change across generations, right? So those standards are the same regardless of the generation, right? But considering the kind of generation that we are, the Gen Z generation, right? We sometimes need a number of things to like push us to work, right? And from my own experience, like Osinachi mentioned, right? We often do not want to go beyond whatever agreement it is we have with whoever our employees or whoever our employer is, right? So let's take for instance, around last year I was supposed to get on a project, right? With it's actually a design agency, so they needed to hire someone to do their designs. Now, I started work, and the truth is that according to the Labor Act, right, you're supposed to engage someone with a contract of employment, right, after the first 3 months of work. So you must do it within the first 3 months of work. Whoever you're engaging as, whoever you're employing, you have to get that person a contract of employment, right? So now my contract of employment was sent to me, and when I checked through the details of, the contract of employment, some of the things under the things I was required to do were not the things that my employer told me when he was going to hire me, right? So immediately I objected to those things, and in fact I did not sign the contract, and I opted out of it because I know I do not want to go beyond this particular role that I've at first initiated in our conversation, right? So whenever you begin to stress Gen Zs, right, it's very difficult for them to enjoy the place they are working at, and that's where they begin to. That's why the way Gen Zs define things is actually in a very unique manner, and because of that, they can start to talk about the work environment being toxic, not giving them breathing space, right, and all of those other things. So I think it's very important that employers clearly stipulate where they want when they want young people to, or the kind of work they want young people to do for them, and how they want it to be done, and when they want it to be done. When you provide those kind of information for us, right, it helps our efficiency. We are more efficient, right, in delivery of our work.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, Andrew, I just wanted to hold that thought why I asked this question, because I see yourself and Osinachi aligning on a particular thought, which is, keep me within the confines of what our agreement is, right? And I hear you and I agree, but I'm trying to strike the balance between, keeping me within the confines of our agreement and striving for growth through sacrificing during employment. Now, there are two ends of the ball. There's the end where, I am employed to do A and I need to do A. And there's another point where I'm employed to do A and I need to do a bit of A and A1, A2 to A5 to be able to, stretch myself for growth. So how do we meet where's the meeting point between, being employed to do something and just sticking to that workflow, and also trying to sacrifice and stretch yourself for growth? Because I tell you confidently, because I don't just work as a Gen Z person, I also have people that work with me, and it's very easy when you can spot someone that is going above and beyond, and that can also foster the approach towards conversation about promotion or getting the person better. And if we are saying that, keep me within the confines of my employment and just let me stay and work for what I've been signed to my contract. And so it's like saying that I will just be doing what I'm meant to do, and I don't look out for growth. So I'm stuck in between that thought. Where do we between, I'm staying within the confines of my employment, and I'm also trying to strive for growth as a person, as an employee. Yeah.
All right. Let me just say this now. Whenever we work, we want to get something in return. Apart from now Gen Zs are not. Let me just say this as our generation is not. We don't repel growth. We don't repel improvements, right? So whatever it is that would contribute to us, we want to soak ourselves in it, right? And as such, what's it called? Whenever we see an opportunity to grow, right, we are fond of sticking to it. So now going back to your question, now the thing is, this is what I think, and this is what I can say from my own experience. Now, I used to work with a design agency, right? And they whenever we are working with a design agency, they would stretch your creativity, right? They want you to try new things. They want you to, try out new concepts and all of those other things. Now, those things are very, very good, right? In fact, it helps you to improve. Now, I'm talking from a designer's perspective, right? Someone that makes designs and all of those things. So it helps you to grow. right? And so, and the very interesting part is that they do not stipulate the scope of all of these designs and all of these things in the contract of employment. They just say you create designs, but they are simple designs and they are very, very tough and complicated, concept and all of those other things. So what I'm driving out is that those kind of stretches, right, they are very good for growth, but there has to be a measure so that it doesn't go to the extreme, right?
Sorry, can you clarify what measure means in this sense? Because I know, yeah.
Okay, this is what I mean when I say there should be a measure. Now we can one of the things that help Gen Zs to work more efficiently at work is when you motivate them, right, with growth incentives, right? When you tell them, okay.
Do you mean money?
Not money per se, yeah, but money can be part of it. But growth incentives are much more than cash, right? You can buy them a course, right, in that particular in their field of expertise, right? You can get them more opportunities outside of your of the scope of your work, right? Things they are interested in, right? So those things would even sometimes help them to go the extra mile for you. So, like I said, the measure I'm talking about is that there should be you should be considerate as an employer, right? You should be considerate, right? The truth is that, okay, as a designer, right? I'm sorry I'm mentioning the fact that I'm a designer because that's something I can really, really relate with and try to express myself from that perspective, right? The truth is that if you tell me to try out something new, right, and me trying that thing that is new, right, you're applying a lot of pressure on me. And you want a result. There's a kind of result you want to see, and you're not seeing that kind of result. And you're also exerting a lot of energy and pressure on me. The truth is that I will not thrive well, right, in that particular assignment. So that is my own experience. Whenever there's a lot of pressure, when there's a lot of correction, a lot of go back and do this again, and all of those things, I do not thrive well under those kind of atmosphere. So it means that whenever you want me to do something extra, right, you need to give me time. You need to really explain what you want me to do, right? And as such, you need to tell me what I'm benefiting from that thing, right? So, so when those things are in place, right, I will definitely put in my best to see that, okay, at the end of this particular task, okay, this is what I will learn. This is how I will get better. I was talking about where I was working as a design agency. I was designing a lot of things, in fact, a lot of new things, right? But I discovered that I was not really growing, right? Because all the agency was doing was just sucking what I have inside of me. So there was no the relationship was not symbiotic, it was parasitic, right? So I think employers should also consider this, that whenever you get to deal with us as regards anything, right, you should ensure. Now the truth is that we can't say it's going to be 50-50, right? We can't say the symbiotic relationship is going to be 50-50, but we know that Gen Zs wants to be appreciated. They want to be recognized for whatever they do, right? And the truth is that whenever you give Gen Zs a sense of purpose, right, and they'll kill for you. Yeah. The moment you give them a sense of purpose, okay, this is what we want to achieve. Let's take for instance, I got a team around February last year for a mortgage company. So what they do is that in exchange of getting mortgage, right, you use your cryptocurrencies as collaterals. Do you understand? So when
Yeah.
the project started, the owner of the project explained to me, okay, this is what we want to do, this is what we want to achieve. And I found the project very exciting, right? So in fact, I worked for 3 months and I did not even consider payment because I loved what they were doing and all of those things. But on the, I love, when the owner of the company, just messed everything up and, everything just went the other way. It was not very, I felt really bad, right? Because it's something that I feel like could work and I've dedicated a lot of my time and energy, to just make it work. So I think before you put them on that extra mile, just give them a sense of purpose, right? In fact, they'll go the extra mile for you. So I think that's it. I think I've done a lot of repetitions. I'm so sorry.
Interesting. I agree with you because I understand how important selling the vision of a thing is to a Gen Z. And in as much as if the Gen Z's work is just printing of things from the printer or photocopying some documents, they want to see how this contributes to the overall goal of the company. And from there, they would do it diligently. And I think just like how everybody would also want to know how their little efforts contribute to the overall scheme of things, Gen Zs want to be informed. They don't need you to assume that that they are very important. They want you to tell it to them, to their face. They want to hear it from you. And I think that was quite profound. Andrew, hi, Osinachi. I want to believe you're still here with us. And MTN is not after you again. All right. Before I hear from Osinachi, in case we have questions that we want to ask any of the panelists, including myself, we can just use the link that us shared via the Udemy account on the page. There's a Google form there that you can just fill in your question, and if possible, you can even just raise your hand here and just unmute and ask your question. I want to assume that Tomiwa is bubbling and he wants to throw some shot directly at some Gen Zs on this call and maybe just clarify some of these answers. So Tomiwa, in case you have or any other person has, please just go ahead and just shoot. We are here to receive it.
I'm not playing any shots. No, but the conversation has really been insightful. And is somebody else talking? I'm not talking about someone else.
Okay, you can continue, Tomiwa. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I'm really glad I was part of this conversation, at least getting all of this feedback, like lots of things that I noted down. And perspective is very important. If you don't understand how this other person relates to it, you would always misunderstand. So so what Innih said, like, so the standard of leadership now is a lot higher than how it was in the way before now. You could just pass by just being like a pedestrian leader and just doing however you like. It really cannot work right now. You need to be able to understand people, understand the perspectives of people, so that you will know how to adjust, and drive everybody towards the goal, because the vision and what you want to achieve is more important than you feeling like you are the boss or you are the leader or anything like that.
Yeah.
So getting the Osinachi's, I really enjoyed that contribution. I really enjoyed the other guy to the designer. I'm truly glad that I was part of this conversation, and thank you for everybody that contributed.
Okay, all right, interesting. I think I would now tilt towards my Gen Z side and just give some feedback based on how Gen Z perception in the workplace is majorly. And I think what a number of employers or CEOs or founders don't understand is a Gen Z would likely leave your company because of the line manager. So most Gen Zs don't. So you can be a company, it can be a good company, but a bad manager would make a Gen Z leave that organization. And I've seen that happen over and again, where we have some rich talent. And I permit me to mention at this very point in time that a number of Gen Zs are generalists, and they are, like Andrew rightly said, they would kill for you if you are able to inspire them very well. And you wouldn't get that. I understand that millennials can go above and beyond for whatever tasks that they want to do, but I tell you that Gen Zs will do worse when it comes to going above and beyond and running with the vision. I've seen people that are not even being paid anything, that will literally let their life down for whatever task that is committed to them. But you see, these people, this sort of people can get unmotivated because of the space that they find themselves, which is the space of the line manager. And I agree that whenever we are trying to imbibe company culture, we should also see how a line manager reporting relationship affects the overall goal of inspiring Gen Zs. People would literally leave jobs people will leave jobs, people will leave opportunities just because the line managers are literally after their life. Like a Gen Z would almost always say that my line manager is after my life, because being a line manager isn't just great for the sake that you've grown or you've had experience over a period of time. You also need to inspire these people, because I've seen line managers don't directly inspire Gen Zs, and these Gen Zs would literally now take a walk out because they feel that in a line manager, they don't interact with the founders as much as you interact with them. And they feel you should be able to imbibe that founder's mentality towards your approach to work. So if I am a Gen Z and I see you as a line manager, I almost see you as the owner of the company. So that level of ownership that it takes for you to drive and inspire me, that the founder should do, that's what I expect from a line manager. I want to see you inspire me. I want to see you encourage me and be a source of motivation that will drive me towards work. I know, yes, we're not in for a job. Everybody should come and do their own job and get it all going. But I would strongly say that if you can inspire or adopt that language of being that source of hope to that person that is reporting to you, it's going to go a long way. Okay, Tomiwa, let me take your thoughts here, because I see your hand is up.
Yeah. And I actually agree with that trail of thought, and it's something that I also noted down, but at the same time too, while you were saying that, what came to my mind too is that, working with Gen Zs, it takes an extraordinary level of patience, because, they are not used to that respect. Sometimes Gen Zs can come out like they just talk anyhow, like they don't really care and they just say anything, So you have to be the one to understand that, okay, they are maybe not trying to be like disrespectful, even if they might come off as being disrespectful, and then be patient enough to actually work with them. So I can understand sometimes if you are not somebody that is, if you're a petty person, if you have insecurities, if you are not confident in your ability to lead per se, a Gen Z can shake you and you start feeling like, what I say, I try to tell you that I don't know what I'm doing, and those kind of people, then they will now start being petty, and then they might be going over and above to kind of like put you in your place and all of those kind of things, which is unproductive, in the first place. That's not an excuse for that kind of person though, but it's something that I know that can happen. Like if you are not a confident person, it will be very difficult to manage all of these guys, because they question things a lot. Like, why is it like this? We are saying this. Why do we have to do this? No, this is not what I feel. And if your own sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Your own sense of person is based on just your own opinion, and then if somebody counters it, you feel like you don't know anything again. You have a problem with those kind of guys. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I was able to communicate.
Yes, you were able to communicate it. And okay, so I must first say for a start that the idea that Gen Zs are a little rude is actually a stereotype, because I hear that a lot. And honestly, every 2 to 3 business days, Gen Zs cannot drink water and drop cup, because everybody has an opinion around working with Gen Zs, and it's very interesting. But I beg to differ that it's an assumption. It's an assumption. And like already mentioned, it's a two-way thing. Now, Gen Zs can be extras. I get that. I've seen Gen Zs, even myself, working with some Gen Zs. I'm like, I'm not even Gen Z. If this is what Gen Z is, I'm not Gen Z, right? But I think they can be extra. But in the approach of, bringing that balance towards, being outspoken and questioning things. I think it should be a default nature of humans to question things. I strongly believe that we should not just we have the ability to think and also disrupt things, and it should be encouraged that we have disruptors. Now, not disruptors that just want to scatter things and not make it a progress. We have disruptors that want, channel progress out. So when we see people that generally want to question things and want to, question approach and motive towards things, we would see that, okay, for example, now, for example, there's a conversation about, okay, fine, you have to the office, come and work. And honestly, there's some kind of jobs I need to do that don't require me being at the office. So I would question why you need me to be at the office, to just be very sure that you genuinely need me to work. And if you cannot give me a solid reason, you almost feel like, okay, you just feel it's a very personal approach towards these things. So Gen Zs can be extra, can be outspoken. They can have those moments where they can shake people's table. But I think it's something that can be encouraged in a way. I was in a meeting yesterday, and I saw how somebody that I think she's in a late 40s to 50s was able to interact with people within 25 to 28. And that was and this was not even Gen Z's like that, a little bit above Gen Z's spectra. And that was a little bit insightful, because I feel that, in as much as a lot of millennials or line managers are high up there, they need to be able to calm down and, inspire before they can lead. We have people that directly want to lead people without inspiring people. You cannot give answers to your why in your approach, and you want people to just follow them like that. It's not going to happen with this generation. And the generation after Gen Zs are worse than us, because they would question every single thing. They want to give approach or initiative, like, let me find why you are saying we should do this thing and not the other way around. So if you can inspire firstly, leading Gen Zs would not be a trouble. So the problem is a number of leaders or a number of line managers or people in the workspace are not directly inspired these people, and they want to go ahead to lead them. So that's why most times when they speak, the words don't hold water, except we're not bound by a contract that I signed at the beginning of the office. I don't see why I should listen to you, because you've not been able to inspire me over time. So I think if we're able to draw that measure between inspiring people before we can lead them, we would have less glitches working with Gen Zs. And that stereotype of being Gen Zs being outspoken rather than being rude would also be answered.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
if I can
Osinachi, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Please, I was accused of pushing the stereotype. I need to take back my voice, please, or something like that.
Is a Gen Z thing.
So just to contribute, to the conversation, I think that we're having a really fantastic conversation right now.
Us, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Osinachi speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, Osinachi, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. I've been listening to the conversation, and everything that I've been saying is literally top notch. Everything that I've been saying is what is really happening, and it's practical lessons we can implement to change it. And I want to just quickly add something, right? There's this thing called accurate feedback, right? Many Gen Zs are just working without knowing if what they are doing has a definite contribution. And Toyin mentioned this, she mentioned this when she said willingness to know what they are doing. There's this thing called feedback, right? I don't know if people even feedback, like accurate feedback. And many managers are not really good in giving accurate feedback. Oh, they are very good in saying, oh, I don't like this, and change it, or oh, you're not doing very well. But how about when the persons and questions are doing very well? Can you hear me?
Osinachi, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still
I can hear you now.
So
yes, sure.
How about, yes, okay, is this work? Okay, yes, this works. So how about when the person in question is doing very well? They are very quick in like giving negative feedback, but when it comes to like giving the real feedback, which is okay, this is what you have done so far, and why this may not be what we want you to improve in so and so places. We want you to like double here a bit, improve here, maybe you want to stop doing this. Like specific feedback is going to be really, really helpful when it comes to working with Gen Z, because trust me, they really, really want to know what they're doing. They're not really, I guess I'm going to use the word we, and then strategy for growth. The reason many companies are unable to keep Gen Zs, right, is because they're not really seeing any strategy for improvement or any like accurate plan or even like a guideline for growth. Or I don't know if you get me right, but at least there's this, okay, if you meet so and so targets, especially in Nigeria, if you meet so and so targets, you're able to like advance to this level. If you meet so and so targets, you're able to like get this or get that, right? And that is why it seems like many companies are like losing these Gen Zs, right? And these young persons, because there's no like defined paths for growth in many companies, trust me. And I don't know if this was out of context or something, but that's like my own part, that's my own part, contribution to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Osinachi. I think that was also very valid. I mean, we've been having such a great conversation today, and it is it's interesting to see, right? Because for me, it's almost upskill your leadership. You need to upskill your leader in this generation, in this decade. You definitely need to pay attention to upskilling your leadership. And it feels like it is too much to ask. But what we do not factor in for now, right, down the line, it affects us in the wrong run. I had a meeting yesterday that I considered very interesting. And in that meeting, essentially, this person has been a leader for 15 months, and everybody in his team is being appraised CD, right? And when he was doing the work, he felt like he was doing the team players, right? By the end of the day, it just reflected on him, the kind of leader that he is. And so he's on the verge of being sacked because he has not done the work to fix his leadership. Before we go ahead, I mean, we're getting almost to the close. I want to believe everyone has been having a good time. Does anyone have any contribution or, questions to ask right now for the panelists? Tommy, I can see your hands are raised. You can speak. But any other person want to have, give feedback, ask specific questions around this particular segment, please, unmute your mic and just speak. Tomo, yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Zeno. I'll just be brief. Yeah, so, I think how can I put this in relations to like everything that we're talking about right now? Osinachi spoke about feedback, and Ryan spoke about being inspired. I'll just be really brief, and I totally agree with everything that has been said. But I also think that it also both ways. As you are requiring the people that you are working with to level up, I think it's also important too for even you that you're requesting for that change in approach to also upgrade your own change in approach too. So when I was speaking about, okay, sometimes Gen Zs are not very good at making some kind of comments. Yes, it might be some kind of stereotype. Maybe I need to reward that. But even generally, I must say it requires a level of skill, to be diplomatic in terms of giving your own opinion on something without you stepping on the toes of another person. It actually requires skill, So, and maybe it will even be it might be I don't want to use the word too much to ask of somebody that is just like maybe 4-3 years in the workplace to actually have that level of awareness in terms of, okay, this is how I should speak. I should speak in this area. I shouldn't talk in a way that would be offensive to this other person or something like that. So, but in general, as we are all learning in terms of, okay, how to manage agencies, everybody also needs to be able to grow in terms of understanding the psychology of everybody, of the other person too, and upscaling, in terms of relating with people of different generations. That's just the feedback I wanted to give.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Samira, for that contribution. We really do appreciate it. So I want to take like final words from our panelists, and and then we'll try to wrap up for today's session. So from our panelists, Divine, Osinachi, Andrew, you guys have been so amazing. Thank you so much. What is the one thing that you want a leader or a line manager, a founder or a team lead to pay attention to within their team? Just one thing that you would like us to pay attention to. Yes, let's have that from you.
Okay, who is going first? Is it me? Can you hear me? Who's going first?
Someone can go first. So you can go first, Osinachi, since you're already on the call.
Okay, thank you very much. So the first thing I think I would want the line manager to take note of is open communication, right? I feel Gen Z should have the opportunity to like highlight specific things they don't want in the organization without coming across as, oh, too troublesome or having too many wahala or I don't know how to put it that way, but there should be really open communication without consequences. Because many companies emphasize open communication, and when a person speaks up, they like get labeled and something. So there really should be open communication without consequences. That really train open communication. So I guess that's my most important thing. That should be implemented when it comes to working with Gen Z. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Osinachi. That was valid. Open communication without consequences. Don't say, oh, we have an open door policy. And then in reality, that policy is not working, it's not giving. So please, thank you so much, Osinachi, for that. Andrew, can we have you next?
Yeah, Andrew, I think
Andrew, are you there? Can we have you next?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Divine, you can go ahead, please.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Omozino, and everyone that's contributed. I think my final thoughts would be I think this conversation has also been a driver towards us advocating for reinvention, like check me and I check you kind of approach. That means from Gen Z's end, they should check themselves what they're currently not doing right and see how they can adjust to fit the work standard. So my conversation or my last thought would be on two sides, one for the Gen Z's and one for the managers. Now for the Gen Z's, I want to firstly say that it is a working space, firstly, before you can be any other thing that you want to call it to be. And you need to treat it as a workspace. You need to treat it as a work environment. So there's a level of professionalism that is required for you to adopt as someone that's employed to do a job. We don't need to beg you to do your work. We don't need to, try to make everything fit your template before you can achieve some things. That's not a healthy way to work. So we on our end, we need to bend to, get some things done, while we would expect the other people on the receiving end to also adjust to what our framework would likely look. So there's a level of sacrifice that is required from us to play as Gen Zs, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. And we need to embrace that. So it's a workplace, a work environment before it's anything else. Before it can become a family, before it can become anything that you want to call it, it's a work environment. And there's a level of professionalism, or a default level of professionalism, that is required for you to be able to thrive in that space. You need to be able to learn the ethics, ask questions that would help you grow in a work environment. So it's not a school, these are not your friends. They're firstly your managers before they can be anything else. So when you are interacting with them, interact with them with that level of understanding that these guys are the people that I'm reporting to. That sense of ownership, of respect, is very, very important to be able to grow well in that space that you find yourself. Now, for line managers, co-founders, or employers of labors, I would also say that let's encourage diversity, and let's encourage diversity for a start. And diversity in the sense that there is no just one way to do things. Life and people are evolving, and once people are evolving, it also speaks to the fact that we need to be innovative, or we need to evolve in our process, in our ways of running some things. The way the system was able to adapt, or the way people in a different generation was able to adapt at that time, will be very different from how these guys that you are employing would adapt. So don't try to make it the same way for them. It's like, no, understand that these are a different set of people, and they require a different set of way to work with so that they can grow. It's for your own good if they are better, or if they feel better. And trust me, you'll be able to encourage, you would have the best once you're able to encourage diversity in your system. Then lastly, I would stand on the conversation that Toyin was able to raise. Reverse mentorship is also a way to grow. Encourage it. The more Gen Z see that you're willing to take feedback, the more they would also give feedback and also respond to it. Somebody asked a question about how to inspire, about a troubling Gen Z in the team, and I want to say that a conversation, rather than I think a honest conversation, heart-to-heart conversation, will be one of the solutions to be able to solve that problem. So give feedback, receive feedback, try to directly inspire without compromise. Like, don't just ask questions because you want to see how they think. Ask questions because you're going to implement, or you're going to see how to adjust whatever feedback you get from these guys. So that diversify, also receive feedback. Then lastly, and most importantly, inspire before you can lead. It's very important. It's a bedrock for any Gen Z that you want to lead. If you not directly inspire them, they cannot look up to you, and they would listen to you because they signed a contract to listen to you, but not because they feel you should be listened to. So you need to be able to inspire before you can directly lead them, and for that to lead to a conformational change, that's very important for whatever we are doing. So I think that's what's going to help. Thank you, Omozino.
Thank you so much, Divine. Very, very important. I mean, you mentioned something, as an advice to Gen Zs, and something I always say, I said, if the primary reason for which we have come together to start a work relationship is affected, then every other thing will be affected. So if the work that was given to you, you're not doing it well, you don't expect me to be shining teeth. I will shine teeth with you after a certain point, right? So that's also great feedback. And I also appreciate the fact that you mentioned diversity of thoughts and experiences is very key. Diversity is very key, and it just brings sort of variety and richness to the experience that we have within our teams, which is also very important. So thank you so much for that as well. Andrew, are you there? Can we have your own one-liner as well?
All right. So first, I just want to say a big thank you to the. Oh, sorry. I want to say a big thank you to the organizers of this, because these conversations are very rare, right? So thank you so much for having this interest and trying to break through this particular field. All right, this is what I'm just going to say to my fellow Gen Zs, right? The truth is that the basis of work has not changed. Generations have changed.
different generations are coming and going, right? But the foundations, right, of getting results, getting consistent results has not changed, right? And those things are just a lot of diligence, right? And hard work. You understand? So I just want to say to every Gen Z listening or will listen is that whenever you're committed to something, do it seriously, right? Don't do it like you're just there, right? Don't just do it anyhow, but do it with every sense of responsibility and diligence, right? And you need to work really hard, right? Because those basis has not changed across generations. When you want consistent results, right, you have to really do the work, right? So that's just going to go for my fellow Gen Zs, and of course for managers and co-founders and all of the other categories. Like Divine was saying, allow what's it called? Don't be static in your approach, right? Allow dynamics, right? Allow different approaches, try new things, right? And the truth is that considering the number of information that we have now, there are like a million ways to do one thing, right? There are like different ways to do one thing. So I'm just going to, just by way of emphasis, just repeat what Divine said, that you should inspire, right? Before you're able, that's an approach of leadership that is very, very, very effective. The moment you inspire the people you want to lead, right? They can go, there's no length they cannot go for you or for your company or for whatever it is they're committed to, right? The moment you make them realize you're doing this more than you being on my payroll, right? You're doing this more than me giving you a remuneration, right? They would actually like really, really put in their best. So that's what I have to say. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you, everyone. I think today has been super interesting. I've had a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I like to just take one or two feedback from our general audience. Was this impactful for you? Was this a good use of your time? What are you taking home? What are you going to do differently? I just want to hear general feedback from everyone that's attending, like a participant today. So we really, really like your feedback. Verbal feedback.
You guys know that the class was great, man. You just want to hear it. To affirm it.
Fantastic.
It was definitely insightful. It was definitely, thank you for putting it together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other person? Dorothy, Mary, Oloye, we'd like to hear from you before we just wrap this up.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dorothy, we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so for me, this was very, very enlightening. Like I saw things from a different perspective. And at some point, I was very, very upset at some point, like how things have turned out in my own generation. I'm a millennial. I was raised by a traditionalist, everything by traditionalist, and having to now have to deal with Gen Z and the things that in my time that you couldn't even try, and the things you have to let go of now, and that point of, I think it was Osinachi that was saying, don't give me any work that is outside my time, like you have to communicate with me based on my work hours and all. And then I remember my boss that will call me at 12 a.m., to give me an instruction of what to do in the morning, right? Or you get a mail at 12 a.m. and you're expected to give a feedback by 7 or 8 a.m. That's in morning. You're in the kitchen cooking by 11 p.m. and you're talking to your boss on the phone on what you should do. And then you're now coming up to the other side of the cadre, of the ladder, and you have to now consider the other generation, because what you permitted in your time can no longer be permitted in their own time. And it's been a lot of work for me. At that time we work with, it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter, just get the job done. And you're having to deal with people that I'm not okay, there's nothing I can do, take your work, right? So, just finding that balance and listening to everyone today there's been a mind shift actually. Now I know what to do. I know that everything, in fact, in the course of the meeting, I had to send a message to one of my mentees and my staff, because she's been very off lately. And I'm like, you shouldn't be doing this. But while listening to everyone speak, I had to send her a message first to acknowledge what she had done and the things that
Hello, Dorothy. Can you hear us? We can no longer hear you.
I finished already. I'm done. I'm like, it was a mind shift. I had to send a message to one of my staff just to acknowledge and thank her for what she had done so far. So, but yeah, I had a good time. It was a mind shift for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're so glad that this was worthwhile for you. Thank you for that feedback. We appreciate it deeply. Thank you so much. Any other person? Okay. I mean,
Hi.
today has been exciting. Okay, one more person wants to
Sorry.
speak. Go
I
ahead.
would say it's been quite insightful and interesting to even hear from the age category that we are speaking about, you understand, especially speaking from the workplace experiences. And I would have also loved to hear from people in the managerial or direct manager lines who are in the, say, millennials bracket, also speak from their experiences, you understand, so that it does not look like it's one-sided, because I've happened to work with Gen Zs for most of my career, you understand, especially in the digital marketing area. And the experiences have been interesting and some have been very terrible. And I would have picked from a typical experience that happened over the week, just this last week, between a Gen Z and I, and it had to do with work. And I understand that, yeah, nobody wants to hear that a Gen Z is rebellious, because even during our own time, baby boomers felt we were rebellious as well, if you understand what I mean, as a millennial. So I think it's just about everybody finding a balance in between, especially when it comes to tasks and responsibilities. Because in as much as you feel, I'm a Gen Z, if my mental health, I can't deal. Definitely the millennial is probably responding to a baby boomer who is probably the CEO or a senior director somewhere, and everybody's responsible to their respective line managers. So I think it's just a matter of everybody having a balance in between and understanding that when it comes to responsibilities, regardless of what the challenges is or are, we should always have a line of communication that is very open. And when I say very open, a Gen Z does not need to wait for the line manager to come and be like, I noticed you've not been able to deliver on this. It was there a reason, you understand? If there's a challenge, let that communication line be open, even from you to your line manager, so that everybody is able to work seamlessly. Above all, I'm well impressed with the entire seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oloye. We're glad we had, you were able to derive value from this. I think at the end of the day, what we are all coming to understand is the fact that for all generations, we all have to be open-minded enough to learn a new way to work. a new way to work, both for Gen Zers, both for millennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers, or even traditionalists, right? We all have to be open to having, sorry, and understanding a new way of working together. And that really just puts this up together. I want to say a big thank you to the team at Udemy for putting this together, for also even encouraging that this be done against so many odds. And I'm so grateful for you guys for pushing and ensuring that, yes, we're able to get this and achieve this at the end of the day. I'm shout out to all of you. God bless you all. Also want to appreciate our speakers, Toyin, phenomenal, Innih, phenomenal, Divine, Osinachi, Andrew, really great breakdown of all that we have learned today. And you just brought a color and a richness to this conversation that we're deeply grateful for. So one last thing I'm going to just be sharing the special announcement. And we're going to be transitioning a lot of our people and culture masterclasses into something very dynamic and interesting and rich via our social media channels. And one or two things were highlighted today: the fact that, hey, we need to bring release tools quickly that will enable people to understand other people's work style, personality, and just foster better collaboration between teams, right? By just understanding two things. So just imagine you as a line manager, you and your Gen Z coworker that are having some sort of conflict, they're able to sit down together, through an assessment, understand, oh, this is how I work, this is how I like to be communicated with. So, okay, these are the areas where we're having conflict. So let's agree on a work template going forward. So these are some of the things that we're trying to create at Udemy, and we're just so excited that very soon we'll be able to share all of that with you. On driving conversations for line managers and leaders, there's so much more we're going to be doing in that regard, because we know that, hey, people psychology plays a critical role in increasing the quality of work performance and also the quality of work culture that is created. So we're going to be doing that a lot. And so just watch out. We have your emails. We'll definitely be reaching out to you via emails. If you're in our community, on the group, very soon we're going to be transitioning out of that community into something different and holistic. And we want you to just watch out for that. Thank you all so much again. Thank you for spending your day, a critical part of your day with us today. And yeah, we look forward to engaging so much more further. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great Eid holiday. All right, bye. Hi guys, thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. Rachel, I think you can stop the recording on your end. My laptop has gone off, so I'm not able to even do that. I'm just on my phone now. So you can stop the recording on your end. I'm just getting your message now that that we want the speakers to take picture. I think what we can do is just like do a screenshot of all their, I mean, it depends on all the screenshots you were able to capture on your end and how clear they are. So you can share, we can do it like a design banner just saying thank you, all of that. Hello, Rachel, can you hear me?